Sometimes, as we say proverbially, life throws us lemons. And what do? We have to make lemonade. But sometimes life throws us the whole lemon tree, roots and all. And it's all about how we look at things. Perhaps we could start a lemon business. Who knows? Today, our amazing guest is legend Thurman, and she has made lemonade definitely in a big way. And so, before we welcome her onto the screen, stay with us. We'll be back in just a bit.
You have a story that is unique, a story that needs to be heard, a story that people care about. So it can get them to stand up for what they believe in. It can inspire them to change. It can inspire them to take action. It can inspire them to care. Care enough to be the light to someone's darkness. Care enough to extend a helping hand to someone who's down and out. Care enough to call things the way they are and see them for what they could be. Your story can make a difference. Your story can save a life. Your story matters. One story changed the entire world. Your story could do the same. All you've got to do is own your story.
If you're just joining us, welcome to Books with Bridgetti. I'm your host, Bridgetti Lembanda from Cape Town in South Africa, and our live stream is made possible by StreamYard and BeLive Media, helping you make meaningful connections. You are watching us live or on the replay, a very warm welcome to you. This is an audience-centric show, so if you would like to ask us a question or just simply say hello in the comments, that is more than welcome. If you have not ever watched the show before, then please let us know that you're new in the comments and we will give you a shout out. And my amazing guest today is legend Thurman. She is a doctor of veterinarian medicine candidate at the Royal Veterinary College in London in the UK, and aspires to become a full-time governmental veterinarian. She wants to become an advocate for change in veterinary medicine, to impact legislation, advocacy, and public policy. But she's also a #1 best-selling Amazon collaborative anthology author in Invisible No More, Invincible Forever More. She's got an amazing story of resilience. And that is so, so necessary in the times that we live in today, because a lot of people have been challenged beyond words. But who better to tell her story than legend herself? Let's welcome her to the show. Hi, legend. Welcome to the show. So glad that you joined us.
Thank you for having me, Bridgetti. I'm happy to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. You know, a lot of us have needed to show resilience in the face of challenges from time to time, and your story is absolutely no exception to the rule. You know, I think we all sometimes, would it be nice if we all sort of were born into a family where there was a mom and a dad and lots of love and siblings, and you know, sort of the idyllic scenario that that a lot of us that have been denied. And what do you do? What do you do? You know, sometimes circumstances are completely out of control. We cannot control the family or the circumstances that we are born into. We simply have to find a way of dealing with what's thrown our way. So tell us a little bit about your your background and your story. I love that we have the platform and the ability to share our stories, um, because we never know whose life we can impact or change, simply by sharing our story. So tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Of course. So even though Bridgetti introduced me as going to school over in London, I am from America, as you can tell by my accent. And I grew up in a small suburban town in southwestern Pennsylvania, about 20 miles southwest of Pittsburgh, just to give you a little geographical context. And like you just mentioned, Bridgetti, I did not have, I guess, what society would say would be your ideal or typical family structure setting in which I was raised in. I was raised by my great aunt and her siblings growing up. And to be honest, even though that isn't, again, the picture setting everyone imagines of a mom, a dad, possibly a couple kids and having siblings in that kind of environment, it still was a warm and loving environment, just different in terms of the family members that I had on a day-to-day basis. But for example, my great aunt, who to this day I still refer to as my mom, because even though she and I don't share the same blood, she did become my mother at the end of the day. She played several roles. So she played mother, she played father, she played the main parental figure in my life in terms of providing support, guidance, as well as that affection at the end of the day. So even though one may not fit the picture perfect image of what is expected, that doesn't mean you don't receive all these good qualities and a good solid foundation in which to grow up in. So that was a little bit into home and family life. As you already mentioned, I am a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine candidate at the Royal Veterinary College in London, England. I also have previous education from the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., in biology, chemistry, theology. Done a bunch of stuff. I like learning at the end of the day, but as you can see, my path has taken me not across the state line, but literally across a continent, across an ocean to complete my graduate work. And if you asked me if it was something I had planned, no, not at all. We went back about 7 years ago and told me that I was going to be living in the United Kingdom. My answer would have been, what? I haven't even been outside the US other than St. Thomas and Virgin Islands for a beach trip. What are you telling me? I'm going to be living in a whole nother country completing my graduate work. There's no way that's going to happen. But here we are today.
It's amazing, and I love that you share your story, um, from the perspective that you didn't have the traditional sort of mom and dad kind of situation, but you still grew up with love and affection, um, you know, and you still had a mom, a person, someone that loved you enough to become the mom that you didn't have, you know, and to me, that's also a great story that family isn't always about biology, and if you don't have biological parents, that love you and care for you in the traditional family scenario, you'll be okay. You can be okay. um, you living proof of that. And I think that story on its own, is amazing. It takes a lot of resilience, self-talk, just, you know, accepting your situation for what it is, because really, could you change anything? It wasn't within your power, right?
No, honestly, it's the cards one is dealt in life. And to be honest, I think a lot of people get caught up in that mentality, like you stated, that based on the situation that you literally are born into, they let that define them sometimes, and then that will hold themselves back. They'll place these limits in front of them that honestly shouldn't be there in the first place because, like you said, family is not defined by blood, and there's so many other social parameters we could get into. But in my book chapter, I touch a lot on labels and the some of the ideals that society can instill within us as humans because we're completely open to it once we're growing up and as we go throughout life. And honestly, we're guilty of letting that happen, but at the end of the day we shouldn't, because all of our potential is deep inside of us. We are the ones that hold it and possess it and have the ability to grow and carry out and take action and do something with it, whatever we're called to do in our life, our mission, our purpose, our vision, whatever it may be. But half the time, again, it's getting over our own individualistic barriers in the long run in order to get there.
Wow, there's just so much truth in what you're saying. But just for the sake of the viewers, let's just take a step back, and we are today focusing on the book called Invisible No More, Invincible Forever More. And we're both in this book. And it's a collection of stories of 9 women from across the globe, from different walks of life. We're all just ordinary people with ordinary stories, ordinary circumstances, a whole mixed bag of stuff, and we're just simply relating what happened to us and how we turned the situation around, how we didn't allow ourselves to be defined by our past, by things that people may have said to us and about us, and not allowing that to define who we are. Because very often, the ideal, again, in an ideal family, you have a mom and a dad and siblings and family who support you, guide you, make you feel confident, and help you with stumble, but that doesn't always happen. So what do you do? Do you allow yourself to be defined? And I think this month we are still it's still mental health awareness, it's suicide awareness, and a lot of that stems from people having these inner thoughts of not being enough, not being good enough. And a lot of times those thoughts come from external factors that put us into a box. And we've got to find a way of not allowing that to define us. And I think you and I are living proof of the fact that we have not allowed ourselves to be defined by external factors. And we've literally taken that lemons, and turned it into lemonade. And, I resonate with so much of what you said. Um, And, I think what I really like about, I wanted to also ask you how you met Linda, because I've been asking all the authors, how did you meet Linda? Because she's a phenomenal woman herself. And for those of you who don't know, a precursor to all these anthologies, and one of them is Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore, a precursor to this was a book by Linda where she wrote about her fears for a year. Every single day she overcame a fear. I mean, it's I don't even know how she did that, but for an entire year she wrote about, her book is called The Year of Fears, and just learning to overcome that. And again, she didn't grow up in the ideal family situation. She's literally turned it into a lemon business. She's kind of become the queen of anthology books. She's become a publisher. She would never, if you asked Linda 10 years ago if she'd be where she is now, she'd say never. But look what she's done. It's just given us an example of, don't live by the stories other people. You don't have to be the sum of the stories other people say you are, right? And that's kind of the message that's come through from your chapter for me as well, is not being defined by the past. And that to me is huge. Who's been your, let's just talk for a minute about being real, when a lot of it is self-talk. When you have those moments of self-doubt, and again, just being real, it's an ongoing process, isn't it? It's not like it's a one and done deal. Like, I was there and I'm okay and now I'm okay forever. You do fall back sometimes. There are days when, you get overwhelmed by negative thinking. How do you get yourself out of it?
So you're 100% correct when you describe how it's kind of an ebb and flow routine. There will be several days where you're definitely on a high, feeling wonderful in life, extremely confident that you're achieving everything you want to, or at least have within your periphery like goals you want to achieve in the long run as well. But then there are days where it seems you have fallen so many feet down under, so far away from where you were even a few days ago, that it seems almost impossible to get back up. But I think the key and what works for me is never losing sight of the long-term goal or goals ahead. And whether that is personal, professional, go down into the subsets of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever you are currently either working on, or even, again, have a timeline in terms of what you want to build up as we pass through time, that is fine. And even when things start to get challenging, say it was something at work that set you back, or a relationship ended, or there has been turmoil within your family, it's to never lose sight of the goal, and also know that at the end of the day, you are only human. It is completely normal and valid to be able to process situations, experience the emotions to 100% capacity, so that way you are able to work through them and learn from them at the same time. So any setback one goes through, it is actually a learning opportunity. It is helping you grow, because I'm a firm believer that even when times are tough, you are exactly where you were meant to be in your life, even though it may not seem like it in that very moment, but you absolutely are. It is part of, using the pun here, your story. It's a chapter or a season. You will get through it, and classic phrase, the sun will always come out tomorrow.
And isn't it always about perspective? No matter what happens, it's what you do with what happens, because one person can get thrown a curveball and they will see it as the end of the world. Another person will be thrown that same curveball and they'll see it as a stepping stone to something bigger. Like, when one door closes, the other doors open. Other people will just see it as the doors are shut on me. I'm stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it is is just finding a way of finding balance and seeing things in perspective, and just keep moving. Just keep moving forward, because stopping is not an option. You know, as you said, the sun will come out again tomorrow. So yes, it may feel dark today, but the sun's going to come up again tomorrow. Tomorrow have to be the same. Don't stay in the dark room. You can
Mm-hmm.
open up the curtains and let the light in. Um, you know, and just change scenery. I spoke to somebody the other day. It was someone who was also watching one of the shows, and we were talking about Invisible No More, Invincible Forever More, and I was sort of relating to this person, how it's important to not change the goal. Sometimes we need to change the way we reach the goal. In other words, you always need to remain fluid and flexible, and realize that life is full of bumps and turns and ups and downs. That's just the ebb and flow of life. So never change the goal, change the method. Maybe if something hasn't worked, change the way that you doing it, but don't change the goal. Stay the journey, stay the course, and somehow, um, just staying on course can give you the stability to want to move forward. I wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite section in your chapter that you would like to read? There was one section that I really liked, but let me hear what your favorite section is, and I will share something that really stood out for me in in your chapter. And while you're finding it, I just want to remind everyone that Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore, all the proceeds, if you support this book, the proceeds are going to a non-profit called Dress for Success, which means that you are going to be supporting other women in need. Dress for Success is a global not-for-profit organization that empowers women to achieve economic independence, and they provide them with a book of support. So if you buy a copy of the book, none of the authors are going to benefit financially from that. You're going to be helping another woman in need. So see that as supporting another woman.
So I am ready, Bridgetti, whenever you are. I will be interested to hear what your favorite section was. It's honestly hard to pick a favorite because
I
now
know.
it's done and it's in print and it's tangible right in front of me. Again, I love all of it, so I don't know if I can call it my favorite, but I feel like this is a good small section at least to share with everyone to give them a little taster.
That'll be great.
It seems many individuals walk blindly through life thinking they need to hide their features, talents, and skills, constantly worried about the perceptions of others. However, those opinions are only perspectives of judgments, not facts set in stone, and they are what holds so many people back. There are those who would question saying, "Who am I to be?" Well, let me ask you, who are you not to be? Labels do not equal Labels do not equal permanence, and your purpose is power. The simple truth resonates in the essence of who we are. We are not invisible, but are truly invincible. And that was a small paragraph.
I really like that paragraph as well. It kind of, to me, nutshells the whole story. And so that's a great paragraph. So the one I thought was a quote that you put into your chapter by Charles Horton Cooley. Now you know which one it is?
Yes, I do. You were referring, I'm not going to read the chapter because I like the paragraph because I don't want to give any more away, but the quote is, "I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am."
Yes. If you were listening to that and you're befuddled by it, you actually have to read. You actually have to read and reread that section a couple of times to really, really get it, because it sounds so simplistic, but it's such a profound statement.
It is.
You know, there's so many nuances in that one statement that kind of encompasses our journeys. And isn't that just what it's about? You know, it's we take on what other people think we are. And people don't often, they don't know our stories, they don't know our journeys. And I often get perplexed at how quick we are as humans to judge one another on face value. You know, we look at people and we assume that they are okay because they may have money or wealth or whatever it is, but we don't know their story, because sometimes, you know, because what we're seeing is the final chapter, but we don't have a synopsis of the journey of where they've come from, or struggles that they may have on a daily basis to stay where they are or to stay on track. You know, oftentimes people may see you as a confident person, but they have no idea what it takes for you to exude that kind of confidence. They may have no idea of how much inner work it may have taken for you to come across as a confident person. And I often share, you know, the story of my own journey of, you know, living with a chronic disease and illness. And when you live with an invisible disability, when people look at you on face value, people will often devalue um, your circumstances or minimize, you know, your struggles, or tell you it's in your head or your mind, simply because they look at, you know, face things at face value. They have no idea of the daily struggles that you are living with. And it's hard to understand, to wrap our minds around how people um, live by only by what is visible and what they can see, but they can't see the inner work that you've done, or the, the invisible stuff. And it makes one grateful. I'm always eternally grateful. And just reading your story, I know that also believe that our creator looks at us from a different perspective, because he sees us from inside and not just the outer body work, the physical stuff that people can see, So you've done an amazing job. I admire you have moved across the pond, as they say, and carved a whole new life. What made you fall in love with animals, if I may ask? What stimulated your interest in animals?
Well, if you ask any veterinarian, no matter what aspect of the field they're working in, most of them will say they have always loved animals. They knew since they were a young child they wanted to be a veterinarian. And I am guilty of falling into that category, but I think I truly began to understand my purpose in life in terms of not only being a veterinarian, but now even the type of veterinarian I want to be in terms of governmental work and everything you listed beforehand. But to know that animals are such a huge blessing in our lives. They also have their unique roles that they are able to give back to humanity, because they can be companion animals, they can be working animals, they provide the food we eat on our tables daily. They were military. The list goes on and on and on in terms of how they serve us and serve this planet. And in my mind, to have the humbling privilege to be able to care for them, and in my case, advocate for them in the long run, is such an everlasting effort that will keep changing as the profession propels forward, as well as the planet keeps growing and changing in terms of population, global warming, farming. And again, these lists are so extensive, and how we are basically one extensive interconnected framework, all connected to one another in different routes and in different manners and different ways. So for me, my love for animals roots in my ability to serve and take care of them, and also what they are giving back to me. And in my case, it's bringing me joy, because again, I mainly am surrounded by companion animals, and when I go on farm, working animals. But again, knowing how they provide for me emotional stability as well as physical stability in terms of feeding me as a human. So just what they give to me, I am happy I am able to give back to them in the long run.
I know when I was reading your biography, I was struck by the fact that you said you wanted to become a governmental veterinarian. That you
Mm-hmm.
specified that. In other words, it was intentional. There was a reason behind you wanting to serve in that capacity. It's like a doctor. My late parents-in-law were both medical doctors.
Mm-hmm.
But they chose to serve in underprivileged communities. They're both long gone. It's 20 years since they're gone. Um, but they never enriched themselves as doctors. They immersed themselves into community service, because they felt that they wanted to give back. You know, and that was amazing. They came from a position of service. They never used their education as a means of enriching themselves. So that struck a chord with me when I realized that your mission was to serve.
It is. And to be honest, I did not come into veterinary school with this plan. I entered veterinary school 4 years ago with a completely open mind in terms of, let me see, in terms of my immersion into the different aspects of the field and meeting different people in terms of the different roles they play. Let that enhance my interests and help mold me into the type of vet I wanted to be in the long run. And sure enough, my second year, I got involved in veterinary governmental work through a plethora of outlets that I don't have time to get into. But as soon as I was exposed to that area, I, as you like to say, caught the bug. I fell in love with it. I now see myself doing absolutely nothing else. And to be honest, veterinary governmental work is extensive as well in terms of the different roles and capacities you can find yourself in, like legislation, public policy, and advocacy. Those are just big, broad ideas. But among those, there are several subsets in terms of the work that needs to be done. But once I figured that out, I had defined my purpose. I knew my purpose was to be a vet, but in terms of how I was going to do that, had not been answered. Now it's been answered because I 100% can say this to anyone. And just knowing that I will be able to give a voice to those who cannot speak for themselves on terms of issues that affect them at the end of the day, as well as the people, because it's a One Health approach, it's people, animals, and the environment. To know I get to be the one who stands there and represents them, that to me, again, is just an honor to be able to do that.
That is amazing. I just want to give a huge big shout out to Landis M. Heckert, who's watching us over on Amazon Live, and saying thank you very much for the conversation. So, Landis, thank you very much for watching. We appreciate you. It's always lovely. I love it when I get feedback from the audience. And again, I just want to reiterate that the stories, there's 29 women. Landis says, I want to be a vet and I work for a rescue. Congratulations. That's very nice. Good to know. It's 29 women who have written their stories of their struggles and their challenges, and how they overcame their challenges. And again, buy a copy of the book, you will be supporting other women. 100% of the proceeds goes to the nonprofit Dress for Success to help less fortunate women. I want to ask you, how did you meet Linda Sunshine West?
Sure. So again, another part of my life that was unplanned. It was January, actually, and okay, Christmas is over. It's kind of that like quiet winter time where it's okay, we're back into work. Nothing exciting is going on now. So during my spare time, because the UK was still in lockdown at that point, so other than classes, there wasn't much to do, I decided, okay, are there any virtual networking events or things I can get myself involved in? Because I don't want to say I was bored, but I needed something to put all of my energy into that wasn't my lectures on a daily basis. And then I found the Women Action Takers networking group and how they met every second and fourth Saturday of the month. And I was like, oh, this looks interesting. Let me go to one. And for those of you that don't know, that is one of the many projects and groups Linda runs. So I showed up and then I kept going back. And then one day she put a fielder out there that she needed help with this networking group. And also, I have several projects I'm working on. Hop on a call with me if you just like to listen and know more. So I did, because I truly wanted to listen and know more and get myself involved and get back to, again, a cause I thought was great, bringing women together from all different walks of life to collaborate, foster and cultivate good connections and network. Absolutely. So I hopped on the call with her and again, got to talk one-on-one, like she knew me from the networking events, but again, just to see what each other was doing, where we were in our lives, and hear about all of her projects. And during this conversation, that was when the book topic got brought in, and she said, do you feel you have a story to share? And my answer was, yes, I do. And I feel it does align with one of your books. But again, as a very, at the time, young 24-year-old, I was like, my mind was saying to me, Legend, what are you doing? You were 24 years old. You're in the middle of grad school. There's no way you can get in and help write a book at this stage of your life. But again, that's what the internal voice was saying. But as she explained it, and she's like, it absolutely can work for you. And then after sorting out logistics, it honestly was amazing to me that this woman, all the way out in California, and here I am all the way in the United Kingdom, wanted to take a chance on a 24-year-old woman, someone who was still in the early stages of her life and her career, sorting out her purpose and defining, again, what success means to her and how she wants to achieve it in the long run. And I can only thank Linda from the bottom of my heart for making that decision and taking action to do that. She did not have to even extend to me this offer, but she did. And now she is one of my biggest supporters and a major influence in my life. And I will talk to anyone about her and the work that she is doing and how she is truly making a difference, because she is.
She absolutely is. And, being able to become a best-selling author um, is just amazing. It opens doors for you and opportunities. So, you can now put on your CV that you are a #1 Amazon best-selling author. I mean, how amazing is that? That's something great to put on your book. Are you planning to write again?
I am actually. So you maybe have heard from some of the other interviews you have done that Linda's book projects, should we call them, are not stopping there. She has decided to co-author with several of the individuals from Invincible No More, Invincible Forever More, to hit on certain areas or certain types of women. And I actually am co-authoring with her, and the book is going to be titled Women Action Takers with Healing Powers. And that is something we have hit the ground running on right now and are working on to hopefully get out here soon, I will say.
That is amazing. As I said before, Linda is a powerhouse. She is the queen of collaboration. She
She is.
absolutely lives up to that title. And, she totally owns the space of collaboration and helping women grow. There's a lot of women um, who feel that to climb the corporate ladder, they need to put other women down. And Linda is proof that it doesn't have to be that way. I ran one of the collaborations I did with a group of women here in South Africa was or is called the Cappuccino Club, which is also a collaboration of women who believe that you can lift as you rise. You can climb the corporate ladder and help the women that come after you and give them a leg up as well, or give them a hand up, and just honoring other women as you rise in the corporate ladder or journey or whatever it is. I often think about, you know, as women, we have the ability to be compassionate. We are the building blocks of society. And, something I learned a couple of years ago, because we had a water crisis in Cape Town. We had the very real possibility of literally running out of water. But what it's done for me was give me the ability to learn so much more about where water comes from and be aware of water use. And, something that I wasn't fully aware of at the time was that there are women who walk miles and miles and miles every single day in the hope of finding clean drinking water for their families. And it's changed my mindset about how I use water. And, just coming from those days, nothing warms my heart more when somebody reaches out to me and says to me, you know, I remember the broadcasts that you did about the water crisis. And since you made me aware of that, I'm no longer letting the water run while I brush my teeth. That one simple change has a huge effect, And something I shared was, and that I still do now, is I recycle my laundry water. I don't flush my toilets with clean drinking water. To me it's become unconscionable to flush my toilet with drinking water when I know that there's another woman out there, that there are women out there who walk for miles and miles and miles, barefoot, with no shoes, with a barrel on their heads to try and find clean drinking water for their families. So that's
Mhm.
kind of my, something I've taken upon myself to do differently to honor other women. So people may say, but you've got lots of water. Why don't you just flush the toilet? It's the story is bigger than that. It's just changed my perspective. I learned about how we use a lot of hidden water, how much water it takes to manufacture clothes. It takes a ton of water and energy to manufacture clothes, and yet we have this throwaway mentality. And I've changed my thinking radically. I now want to wear my clothes until they literally fall apart because I don't want to be part of that waste economy any longer. I don't want to be part of that throwaway society or economy. And I want to see what I can do for the world, for the earth, um, and not contribute to its destruction. So it's little changes. It doesn't have to be big things, but little changes. And I really love when you were talking about animals and how they serve you and they serve humanity, and where your love comes from, what you want to do. I think it's just amazing.
No,
I
thank
can
you.
see,
And
I can see your heart lighting up when you talk about the animals.
it's the animals, it's the work, but honestly, it's also the people that play a role in using the animals for their talents and their purpose as well, in all those different roles I stated beforehand. So it's a whole package deal in terms of people, animals, and the environment, like you just said.
Yeah, and it's little. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money to make these little changes. It's not
Hmm.
about that. Everything revolves around mindset.
Yes.
Everything everything changes if you change your mindset. Um, so no matter where you are at, just examine your mindset and see what you can change, because we can't change other people. We can't change how people treat us. We just don't have the power over someone else. And
Hmm.
it was a couple of years ago when I had this like aha moment. I don't know if you've ever read this scripture in the Bible which says, "Don't let the sun set with you in a provoked state." And I'd read that like a gazillion times, and one day somebody read it. But it's amazing just to see how sometimes where you place the punctuation can be huge. Like when you read your book, and again, oh my gosh, I cannot wait for the audio version of our book to come out.
Yes.
Oh, it's gonna be so amazing, so amazing, so amazing. Just cannot wait for that. Because what I was gonna say is, when not everyone can read your story and have the sort of put the punctuation and the emphasis where you would put it. And that's why I always love asking authors to read a paragraph just so people can get a sense of who you are and what it is that you want to convey with your story. But oh my gosh, our audiobook is going to be out of this world, phenomenal. I don't want to give it away, but it's going to be read by a man with the most amazing voice and such a tribute. It's a tribute. I think it's a beautiful tribute having um, such a strong, phenomenal man reading stories of resilience, because that's what it is. It's stories of resilience, 29 stories of resilience in the Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. And now I've completely lost my train of thought. I got sidetracked by how excited I am about this audiobook coming out.
Honestly, though, it is nice knowing that honestly Amanda's reading our book, because I think that is also showing not only, yes, someone reflecting the stories of resilience for people to hear, because how we read with our eyes is different from how we read with our ears. But at the same time, I think it is showing great strength and partnership within humanity, because it's a man reading resilient stories for women. So showing that men support women and women can support men at the end of the day. So I think that's a really powerful notion.
I think so too. There's I often feel that people may get the wrong idea when they see, women action takers, for example, is a group of women who support each other, thanks to this initiative by Linda Sunshine West. But it doesn't mean that any of us are anti-men,
Mm-hmm.
because there are a lot of us who are successful because we feel supported by the men in our lives, you know and just because one man may be bad doesn't mean all men are bad. Just because one woman is bad doesn't mean all women are bad. And again, it speaks to that whole thing of perspective, right? Just gaining perspective, because in your circumstances, for example, where you didn't have a maternal mother and father in your life, you could have chosen to be bitter about that and focus on that, but you made a conscious choice not to. You made a conscious choice to be thankful for the mother you do have and the role model that you have in life. um, and just switching things around to being thankful and grateful, because going down the other path is just so destructive and counterproductive, and it doesn't lead us anywhere that is going to be good for us. So well done to you for having literally turned your life around, for moving across the ocean and
Yeah,
being
thank you.
able to
And
fulfill, a dream.
yeah, and it's like you just said, like, I could have been bitter about certain aspects in my life, sure, but life would have kept going on with or without me at that point. So why focus on darkness when you can focus on light, life, beauty, and joy that does surround us all the time? It's just finding it.
Yeah, absolutely. Legend, if there is someone else out there watching this and they are feeling trapped by their circumstances because they were not given a they were not born into a traditional family situation, what would you like to say to them?
That your presence in life is still a gift. You have so many talents, whether the ones you recognize or those you haven't even discovered yet. You have all of them. Everything you need, you possess in order to be successful. Do not let circumstance or other people's perceptions or anyone else write your story. Only you have the privilege to do that. You have the power and the decision to take action and make a change. So, therefore, if you were feeling trapped, learn to look at life from a different perspective, not maybe from what you don't have, but everything that you do have and the vast, endless potential that you possess. And that applies to everyone. I don't care how young or how old you are. You could be 10 or you could be 60. And if you want to make a change or carry out part of a goal or something that you have always longed to do, it is never too late to do that.
Wow. Wow. Just wow. That is so inspirational and so encouraging. And thank you for sharing that. I think that's amazing. And what I also like about what Linda's done, in all the anthology books, is every chapter, and also in the book that we're talking about, Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. And if you're just catching the tail end of the show now, the Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore book is a collection of stories of resilience, pure resilience of 29 women, ordinary women coming from all walks of life from across the globe, different situations, different stories, but they all have shown resilience. And all the proceeds of that book is going to go to a nonprofit called Dress for Success. So by buying a copy of the book is available on Amazon. So if you are actually watching this on Amazon Live, the book is highlighted in the carousel. And if you're buying a copy of the book, you are supporting a woman that is less fortunate. Dress Success is an international organization, and they support women globally by empowering them to have the necessary support that it takes to become successful and to help lift them out of their circumstances. So it would be amazing if you could support Dress for Success by buying a copy of the book. So none of the authors benefit from it financially. All the proceeds are going to go to Dress for Success. And it was amazing that, in all the anthologies, Linda has asked authors, who would you like to benefit from the proceeds of the book? And I don't think it could have been a more worthy nonprofit than Dress for Success. It's just, I just love what it embodies. And it's just sort of a beautiful thing, how if you could just give a less fortunate woman the opportunity to dress up so that she gets the job is amazing. Because you're not only feeding a woman, you're feeding a family by helping her become successful just with a little thing. It's not the big things that we do, it's the little things we do that can make a huge impact on someone's life. So please get a copy of the book, Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. It literally is stories of women who were thrown lemons, and as Legend and I were saying earlier, sometimes people get thrown a truckload of lemons and they turn out and they make a lemonade business. So please do support by getting a copy of the book. Legend, thank you so much.
No,
It was amazing talking to you. Any final words before we say goodbye to our audience?
yes. Two things. First of all, to add to what Bridgetti said, you might not also possibly be feeding a woman or her family, but how we touched on earlier, this one little act and change could be instilling that confidence that that woman needs to take action and achieve some of her goals as well. And one last fun fact for everyone, because I have ended up sharing this in every interview I've had for the book, I get a lot of questions on how I've extrapolated quotes and incorporated them into my chapter. I actually have a long list of quotes that I live by within my life. So these are just a few of them that are little taste tests within the chapter.
Well, that is amazing. That is amazing. Legend, thank you so much. I want to just give a huge big shout out to our audience. You've been amazing. It's great having a live audience, but we also appreciate the replay viewers. So if you're watching this on the replay, then thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, everyone, and I wish you a stunning day further. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you next time on Books with Bridgetti. So from me in Cape Town, South Africa, it's goodbye for now.